Okay, let's dive in. Last time, we followed that incredible story the sources laid out, Krishna's midnight birth, and that really miraculous escape across the Yamuna River, bringing him safely to Gokul.
Right into the arms of Nanda and Yashoda. And now, well, based on all this material you've shared, we get into what's probably the most beloved chapter.
His childhood in Gokul.
Exactly. And these accounts, they're just bursting with joy, real affection, and yeah, definitely a good dose of mischief.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So our mission today is really to get into these key stories from his early years. We want to pull out the essential insights,
Understand what these moments tell us about that time.
Yeah, and really dig into the deeper meanings the sources suggest are kind of hidden within them.
Okay. Well, what's immediately clear from the sources is how little Krishna just instantly became the heart of the village.
The material describes it so well, his, enchanting smile, those sparkling eyes.
Irresistible charm.
Totally. He just drew everyone in. He became Gokul's darling, loved by everyone. Genuinely.
And yet, the accounts also tell us that most villagers, they just saw him as Nanda Baba's son.
It's fascinating how deep that illusion was.
Right. Only a few, like Garg Muni, who's mentioned in the text, seem to have that foresight or insight to sense something. Well,
right.
Divine.
But Krishna himself, he was just playing the part, right?
Yeah.
A normal kid.
Totally. Playing, crying, laughing. The sources put it just like any other child, almost.
Almost. That feels like a huge wink from the narrative, doesn't it?
It really does. And that little hint that something more is going on, it leads us perfectly into maybe the most iconic part of his early years.
Butter thief has to be.
The Butter Thief adventures, yes.
So how did these raids actually go down, according to the accounts? Were they stealthy?
Well, not exactly stealthy, maybe, but creative. The sources talk about him and his friends sneaking into the Gopas' houses.
Okay.
We hear about them climbing up to the pots, sometimes using rope ladders.
Wow.
And honestly, sometimes the material just implies he used that charm, to distract whoever might catch them.
And the gopis, the village women, how did they react? The sources paint a pretty vivid picture.
Oh, yeah. They'd march over to Yashoda, all ready to complain, and then they'd see Krishna and just melt.
Instant blow.
Instantly. The accounts capture that mix of, exasperation, but also pure affection. We even get specific lines like, Yashoda, your little one has emptied my butter pot again.
And the other one.
Oh, he even tied my calf so I couldn't stop him. Just brilliant, isn't it?
It sounds like adorable chaos. But, okay, is this just kids being kids? The sources seem to point towards something deeper with the butter thievery.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really insightful. I mean, on the surface, sure, it's just mischief. But the material connects it symbolically.
Okay.
Butter, it represents the essence, right? The purest part of the milk, extracted through churning, which takes effort. Okay.
Devotion, maybe?
Exactly. So Krishna, as the divine, isn't just stealing food. He's coming to steal that most refined, purest part of us.
Our love, our devotion.
Precisely. The essence of our being, painstakingly cultivated. It's a beautiful metaphor laid out in the texts.
And the material also mentions that these acts, even though they look like pranks, they also show that while he lived like a human, he wasn't really bound by human rules.
Which might explain why trying to discipline him sometimes led to, well, pretty extraordinary results.
Oh, right. Yashoda tried many times, the sources say. But there's that one specific time the material really highlights.
When she caught him red-handed.
Literally. Hands full of butter.
She'd clearly had enough at that point. The account says she tied him to a heavy wooden grinding mortar with a rope.
To keep him put. Stop him wandering off.
Exactly. But then, this is where it gets truly amazing, according to the sources. He's crawling around, still tied to this heavy mortar, and somehow he gets himself between two very old, very large trees.
The Yamalarjuna trees.
That's the one's material names. And as he passes between them, dragging the mortar, they don't just get scratched, they crack and fall dramatically.
Wow. Definitely not your average toddler incident.
Not at all. And what happened next, as the sources tell it, is even more incredible. From the fallen trees emerged two divine beings. They'd been trapped there by a curse.
And Krishna freed them, just by crawling past with a mortar tied to him.
Seems so. His simple act liberated them. The sources say they bowed to him in reverence and then just disappeared.
So even while literally tied down by his mom, he's performing these profound acts, liberating souls.
Yet, as the material points out, for many people watching, he was still just Yashoda's little boy.
That hidden divinity. even in plain sight. It's a constant theme, isn't it?
It really is. And there's another moment the sources describe, maybe even more visually stunning, when he was just a toddler.
Ah, the dirt incident. I love how the accounts frame this. Balarama and the friends running like typical tattletales.
He's eating dirt. That's what the text says they shouted.
And Yashoda's reaction is just pure mother, isn't it? Rushes over, probably a bit frantic, scolds him,
And demands, open your mouth.
And what she saw wasn't dirt.
No. The sources give this just breathtaking description. She saw the entire universe.
The whole thing. Stars, planets, galaxies.
All contained, spinning within his tiny mouth.
Wow. The material says time just sort of stopped for her then. Yashoda, the loving mother, suddenly face to face with the infinite, the divine truth of who he was.
Can you imagine going from scolding your kid for eating mud to that? But then Krishna's next action, the sources describe it so tenderly.
What did he do?
With just a glance, like an act of will, he brought her back.
Back to seeing him as just her son. Back into that maternal illusion.
Exactly. The accounts really suggest he chose that. He chose her love over inspiring fear or overwhelming awe, because her pure, unconditional mother's love was too precious, too important to be replaced by reverence or, a full understanding of his divinity.
That's a really powerful choice presented there. It feels deeply connected to that concept the sources bring up.
Yeah.
Krishna as Leela Purushottam.
The master of divine play.
Yeah. His actions, even the mischief, even the seemingly mundane, they're all part of this bigger, often hidden divine performance or play.
And if we just step back for a second, look at the bigger picture here. What do these childhood stories, drawn from the sources, really show us?
Well, they paint this picture of the divine choosing, quite deliberately, to experience the full range of human life.
Including the messy parts.
Totally. Being mischievous, getting scolded, being tied up, even blamed for things. The material suggests this is all about teaching us about love. Love in its simplest, most relatable human form.
It really underlines the idea that Krishna, through all this, isn't demanding worship from way up high.
No.
He's entering our world. He's interacting with us right here and basically inviting us into a relationship based on love, not just demanding reverence.
So we've kind of walked through these charming and mischievous and actually really profound early years of Krishna in Gokul. We touched on that instant connection, the symbolic butter theft, the hidden divinity with the trees.
And that glimpse of the universe.
Right. An incredible journey already.
And the sources, they indicate there's definitely more to come. And, well, maybe not all of it is quite so playful.
So our next deep dive, based on the material you provided, is going to introduce Putana.
Yes, the demoness disguised as a loving woman, a mother figure. And we'll see how Krishna, even as a baby, starts protecting Gokul.
Okay. Well, before we wrap up today, here's maybe a final thought, something pulled from what we've discussed from the source material. What does it really teach us about love and divinity that Yashoda, even after seeing the entire cosmos in his mouth, was returned by Krishna to the simple, profound reality of just being his mother? Something for you to think about until our next deep dive.